When Elon Musk's brand new Tesla Model S broke down in the middle of rural Alabama, he thought his day couldn't get any worse. But when he walked into Jimmy's auto repair shop, he discovered that sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places and the most unlikely people. The sleek silver Tesla Model S Plaid glided silently down State Route 21, cutting through the heart of rural Alabama like a spaceship navigating through another century. Elon Musk sat behind the wheel, one hand casually draped over the steering wheel, while the other held his phone, as he conducted yet another video conference with his engineering team at the Gigafactory in Texas. The new 4,680 battery cells are showing a 16% improvement in energy density, reported Sarah Chen, Tesla's head of battery technology, her voice coming through the car's premium audio system with crystal clarity. But we're still seeing some thermal management issues during rapid charging cycles. Elon nodded, his eyes scanning the endless cotton fields and pine forests that stretched to the horizon on both sides of the two-lane highway. He was driving from a supplier meeting in Birmingham to a SpaceX facility in Huntsville, a route that took him through some of the most remote parts of Alabama. The countryside was beautiful in its own way, but it felt like traveling back in time. Rusted mailboxes, weathered farmhouses, and the occasional abandoned gas station serving as monuments to a slower, simpler era. "What's the temperature differential we're seeing?" Elon asked, adjusting the car's climate control as the afternoon sun beat down mercilessly. Even with the AC running, the Alabama heat was oppressive, creating shimmering mirages on the asphalt ahead. Peak thermal events are hitting 47 degrees Celsius during the final 10% of rapid charging, Sarah replied. "We're within safety parameters, but barely. The cooling system is working at maximum capacity." Elon frowned, his engineering mind immediately jumping to potential solutions. Thermal management had always been one of the biggest challenges in electric vehicle design. Too much heat could damage the battery cells, reduce their lifespan, or in extreme cases cause thermal runaway, a dangerous condition where the battery essentially destroyed itself. "We need to redesign the cooling channels," he said, mentally sketching modifications to the battery pack architecture. "Maybe increase the surface area of the heat exchangers, or..." That's when it happened. Without warning, every screen in the Tesla went dark. The air conditioning shut off, the audio system fell silent, and Elon felt the subtle vibration of the electric motors fade away. The car was still moving, coasting on momentum, but it was completely dead. "What the hell?" Elon muttered, tapping frantically at the blank touchscreen. Nothing responded. The steering wheel controls were dead, the instrument cluster was black, and even the hazard lights wouldn't activate. The Model S was essentially a 4,400-pound paperweight rolling down a rural Alabama highway. Elon guided the powerless vehicle to the shoulder of the road, using what momentum remained to get as far off the pavement as possible. Gravel crunched under the tires as the Tesla came to a stop beside a wooden fence post marked with a weathered sign, "Millerville, population 847. The silence was deafening after hours of constant road noise and conference calls. Elon sat in the dead car, feeling the temperature begin to rise immediately without the air conditioning. He pulled out his phone to call Tesla's roadside assistance, but the screen showed no signal bars. Not surprising in this remote area. "Perfect," he said aloud, stepping out of the car into the oppressive Alabama heat. The temperature had to be pushing 95 degrees, and the humidity made it feel even worse. His business suit, appropriate for air-conditioned meeting rooms, was already beginning to stick to his skin. Elon popped the trunk and retrieved his emergency roadside kit, including a portable phone signal booster that might help him get a call through. As he worked to set up the device, he noticed a faded billboard about a quarter-mile down the road, "Jimmy's Auto Repair. All makes and models. EST. 1987. After 20 minutes of trying various positions and antenna orientations, Elon managed to get 1 bar of signal strength. He immediately called Tesla's customer service line, knowing that his situation was about to become a major logistical challenge. "Tesla customer care, this is Jennifer. How can I help you today?" "This is Elon Musk," he said, shielding the phone from the sun with his free hand. "My Model S has experienced complete system failure. I'm stranded on State Route 21 in Alabama, about 2 miles north of a town called Millerville." There was a pause on the line. "I'm sorry, did you say this is Elon Musk, as in the CEO of Tesla?" "Yes. And I need immediate roadside assistance." "Of course, Mr. Musk. Let me connect you to our priority support team." Another hold, more waiting in the blazing sun. Finally, a senior technician came on the line. "Mr. Musk, this is Dave Richardson from our emergency response team. I'm showing your location, and unfortunately our nearest certified service center is in Atlanta, about 180 miles away. Given the rural location, it's going to take at least 4 hours to get a flatbed truck to you, and another 4 hours to transport the vehicle to the service center. Elon looked down the empty highway, where he hadn't seen another car pass in over 10 minutes. 8 hours was unacceptable, especially since he had a critical meeting at the Huntsville facility that evening. What about local options? He asked. There's an auto repair shop nearby. Sir, with all due respect, a small-town garage isn't going to be equipped to handle a Tesla. Our vehicles require specialized diagnostic equipment and certified technicians. I strongly recommend waiting for our official service team. Elon ended the call and stared at the billboard advertising Jimmy's auto repair. He had two choices: sit in his dead Tesla for the next 8 hours in 95-degree heat, or walk to the local garage and see if they could at least help him understand what had gone wrong. The walk to Jimmy's auto repair took 15 minutes, and by the time Elon arrived, his dress shirt was soaked with sweat. The shop was exactly what he had expected, a cinder block building with 2 service bays, surrounded by a collection of pickup trucks, old sedans, and farm equipment in various states of repair. A hand-painted sign above the entrance read, Jimmy's Auto Repair. If we can't fix it, it can't be fixed. The sound of compressed air tools and classic rock music drifted from the open bay doors as Elon approached. He could see a pair of legs sticking out from under a raised Chevrolet pickup truck, and sparks flying from what appeared to be welding work in the back corner. Excuse me, Elon called out, stepping into the first bay. Is Jimmy available? The legs under the pickup truck began moving, and soon a man emerged, wiping his hands on a greasy rag. He appeared to be in his late 50s, with graying hair, kind eyes, and the weathered look of someone who had spent decades working with his hands. His coveralls bore the name Jimmy embroidered over the left pocket. That'd be me, Jimmy Patterson said with a slight smile. Jimmy Patterson, owner and chief mechanic. What can I do for you? I'm Elon Musk, he said, extending his hand. My car broke down about 2 miles up the road, and I was wondering if you might be able to take a look at it. Jimmy shook his hand with a firm grip, calloused from years of manual labor. Nice to meet you, Elon. What kind of car are we talking about? It's a Tesla Model S. Jimmy's eyebrows rose slightly. A Tesla? Well, I'll be honest with you. I've never worked on one of those. Hell, I've never even seen one up close. But if it's got wheels and an engine, well, motor in your case, I'm willing to take a look. The problem is, it's completely dead. No power, no diagnostics, nothing. My company's service team says it needs to go to Atlanta for proper diagnosis. Jimmy scratched his chin thoughtfully. Complete electrical failure, huh? That's usually either a main fuse, a bad connection, or a computer problem. Mind if I ask what happened right before it died? Elon was surprised by the logical approach to troubleshooting. I was on a conference call discussing battery thermal management issues when everything just shut off simultaneously. Thermal management, Jimmy repeated, nodding slowly. So you were talking about overheating problems when the car died. That's probably not a coincidence. You think it overheated? Could be. Or could be the system thought it was about to overheat and shut everything down as a safety measure. Modern cars have all kinds of protective systems built in. Jimmy wiped his hands again and looked toward the highway. Tell you what, let me grab my truck and we'll go take a look. Worst case, I can't help and you're no worse off than you are now. 20 minutes later, Jimmy's weathered Ford F-250 pulled up behind the stranded Tesla. Jimmy climbed out carrying a toolbox that looked like it had seen decades of use, along with a digital multimeter and a small laptop computer. Nice car, he said, walking around the Tesla and examining its sleek lines. Probably cost more than I make in a year. About $130,000, Elon confirmed. Jimmy whistled low. Well, expensive doesn't mean it can't break down. Let's see what we've got. For the next 30 minutes, Elon watched in fascination as Jimmy methodically worked through a diagnostic process that was both systematic and intuitive. He started with the basics, checking the 12-volt battery, testing major fuses, and examining all visible electrical connections. Here's your problem, Jimmy announced, pointing to a component under the hood. This little box here is your DC to DC converter. It takes power from your main battery pack and converts it to 12 volts to run all your computers and accessories. Elon leaned in to look. The low-voltage system. Exactly. And this converter is fried. See this burn mark here? It overheated and shut down, which killed power to everything else in the car. But that's a $3,000 part, Elon said. And it's not something you can just pick up at a local parts store. Jimmy grinned. Maybe not. But let me ask you something. What does this converter actually do? It's a switching power supply that converts high-voltage DC from the main battery pack to 12-volt DC for the auxiliary systems. Right. And I'll bet you anything that the actual power conversion circuit inside this fancy box is pretty similar to what you'd find in a computer power supply or a big marine battery charger. Elon stared at Jimmy with new respect. You're suggesting we build a replacement? I'm suggesting we bypass the fancy factory part with something that does the same job. I've got a 40-amp switching power supply in my shop that I use for testing electrical systems. With a few modifications and some creative wiring, we might be able to get your car running again. That's actually brilliant. But won't it void the warranty? Jimmy laughed. Son, you're the CEO of Tesla. I think you can handle any warranty issues. They spent the next 2 hours in Jimmy's shop, working together to create a custom power supply solution. Jimmy handled the electrical work while Elon helped with the engineering calculations and system integration. It was unlike any collaboration either man had ever experienced. A billionaire tech CEO and a small-town mechanic, combining their different types of expertise to solve a complex problem. You know, Jimmy said as he soldered connections with practiced precision, I've been working on cars for 40 years, and they keep getting more complicated. Used to be, you could fix most problems with a screwdriver and some electrical tape. Now everything's computers and sensors and software. But the fundamental principles are the same, Elon observed, watching Jimmy work. You're still diagnosing problems systematically, understanding how systems interact, finding creative solutions when standard parts aren't available. Exactly. A problem is a problem. Whether it's a 1975 Chevy or a 2024 Tesla. As the afternoon wore on, other customers began arriving at the shop. Farmers with broken tractors, local residents with aging pickup trucks, and a family whose minivan had overheated on the highway. Jimmy handled each situation with the same combination of technical skill and genuine care for his customers. You've been here all day because of my car, Elon said, feeling guilty about monopolizing Jimmy's time. I should compensate you for lost business. Nonsense, Jimmy replied, testing another connection. This is the most interesting problem I've worked on in years. Besides, Mrs. Henderson's transmission can wait until tomorrow. She's got her husband's truck to drive. By 6 p.m., they had successfully installed the makeshift power supply system. Jimmy had fashioned a custom mounting bracket, run new wiring harnesses, and even programmed the Tesla's computer to recognize the modified electrical setup. Moment of truth, Jimmy said, handing Elon the key fob. Let's see if we fixed your fancy car. Elon pressed the button, and the Tesla came to life immediately. All screens activated, the air conditioning began running, and the familiar startup chime echoed across the parking lot. Unbelievable, Elon said, shaking his head in amazement. You just solved a problem that Tesla's own engineers said would require factory service. Different perspective, that's all, Jimmy said modestly. Sometimes when you're too close to something, you miss the simple solutions. As they tested all the car's systems to ensure everything was working properly, Elon found himself thinking about the broader implications of what had just happened. Here was a man with no formal engineering education who had diagnosed and solved a complex electrical problem through pure intuition, experience, and creative thinking. Jimmy, Elon said as they finished the testing, I have a proposition for you. Oh? Tesla is always looking for talented people who understand how to solve problems creatively. Have you ever thought about working for a larger company? Jimmy chuckled. I appreciate the offer, but I'm 58 years old and I've got roots here. This shop has been my life for 25 years. Can't imagine doing anything else. What if you didn't have to leave? What if we brought the work to you? Jimmy looked puzzled. Not sure I follow. Tesla is expanding our service network, especially in rural areas where our customers might not have easy access to certified service centers. We need independent shops that can handle basic diagnostics and repairs. Shops run by people who understand how to think outside the box when standard procedures don't work. You want me to become a Tesla service center? I want you to become Tesla's first certified rural service partner. We'd provide training, diagnostic equipment, access to parts, and a steady stream of work. You'd keep your independence and continue serving your local customers. But you'd also be able to help Tesla owners throughout Alabama and surrounding states. Jimmy was quiet for a long moment, considering the offer. What would that mean for my current customers? I can't abandon the farmers and families who've been coming here for decades. You wouldn't have to. The Tesla work would supplement your existing business, not replace it. And honestly, the diagnostic and problem-solving skills that make you good at fixing Teslas will make you even better at fixing everything else. Let me think about it, Jimmy said finally. It's a big decision. Of course. Take all the time you need. As Elon prepared to leave, Jimmy walked him to his car. You know, the mechanic said, I never thought I'd meet someone famous in my little shop. Certainly never thought I'd be working on a car owned by the guy who builds rockets. And I never thought I'd find one of the best problem solvers I've ever met in a small Alabama garage, Elon replied. Sometimes the best discoveries happen in the most unexpected places. 3 weeks later, Jimmy called Elon with his decision. Not only did he want to become Tesla's rural service partner, but he had also identified 6 other independent mechanics across the Southeast who had the skills and integrity to join the program. Within 6 months, Tesla's rural service partner network was operational across 12 states, providing Tesla owners in remote areas with access to high-quality service and support. Jimmy's shop became the model for the program, and his creative problem-solving approach was incorporated into Tesla's service training curriculum. But perhaps more importantly, Jimmy's story became legendary within Tesla as an example of how innovation and expertise could be found anywhere, not just in Silicon Valley or prestigious universities, but in small-town garages where practical wisdom and creative thinking were part of the daily routine. You know what I learned that day in Alabama? Elon told a gathering of Tesla service managers 6 months later. Sometimes the most advanced technology in the world can be fixed with old-fashioned ingenuity and a willingness to think differently. Jimmy Patterson reminded me that good engineering isn't about having the fanciest tools or the most expensive education. It's about understanding how things work and being willing to find creative solutions when the obvious approaches don't work. The story of the breakdown in rural Alabama became part of Tesla lore, but for Jimmy Patterson, it was just another day at the office. Helping someone in need and proving that with enough curiosity and determination, there's no problem that can't be solved. Because sometimes the most important innovations happen not in corporate boardrooms or research laboratories, but in small-town garages where common sense meets uncommon creativity.